Okay, so after the last video where we saw the lives of the gang under Javier's rule, I decided to stray away a bit from the gang and in this video focus on creating a narrative so bizarre and so unlikely that it for sure would make for a good and absolutely hysterical premise. As you have already seen in the title of this video, we will be focusing on the life of our all-time favorite character, Uncle. Starting off, we see Uncle wake up in his usual drunken state, ready to seize a new day in the same manner as the ones before, by drinking himself half asleep and being an absolute nuisance to everyone around him. He takes a short ride from his squatter cabin in Beach's Hope and heads into Blackwater to get some breakfast and potentially have a few non-alcoholic beverages. After arriving into Blackwater, he soon realizes that the saloon he went to is empty and that the owner has abandoned the premises. He heads over to the local bank to withdraw some funds, but finds that the bank is also closed down. This prompts him to head down to the docks and enjoy a few sips of his favorite drinks. After passing out, he wakes up in a terrible state and decides to head out to the saloon again to get something to eat. Once there, he again is met with an empty saloon and an even emptier stomach, which prompts him to head out into the wilderness in an attempt to hunt down some food. After spotting a herd of deers, he ends up trying to lasso one of them and comes pretty close to the deer before failing to kill it with his knife. This prompts him to pull out his rifle and shoot the deer that tries to run away. Of course, him being the absolute horrible shot that he is, he ends up Swiss cheesing it and has to put the poor thing out of its misery by hand. He stores the deer on his horse and rides back to his squatter home before night falls. Once there, he puts the deer next to the fire to slow roast over the course of the next few days and heads to bed to enjoy some well-deserved rest. After waking up the next morning, he decides to head towards the city of Armadillo in hopes of getting a drink and a warm meal. On his way there, he passes through the McFarlane's ranch and notices that the McFarlanes are also missing from their homestead. He then decides to steal a wagon and brutally annihilates the man that was driving it. After stealing the wagon, he parks it in front of the tunnel in hopes of stealing a passenger train. This, of course, goes horribly wrong as the train approaching ends up being some kind of government train with no real passengers on. He makes a quick sweep of the train for any potential supplies and notices that some of the train cars are fully sealed. Now thinking of a government conspiracy, he quickly takes the train into the nearby city of Armadillo, not knowing the terror that awaits him. Once there, he heads to the local saloon to enjoy a warm meal and some mighty fine beer. After having a few too many, he ends up passing out and wakes up outside on the city streets. He takes a few hungover steps and finds this extremely delicious looking dog that he ends up petting. This, of course, is a mistake as the dog is infected with a terminal case of lumbago, which he got from enjoying a few too many, just like Uncle. He slowly realizes that the drinks he had last night have infected him with this incurable disease, and now, knowing that he will never be able to play football or basketball like he had been used to, he gets angry and decides to stop this horrible disease from spreading further into the RDR universe. He starts taking out the infected one by one, and the local law enforcement doesn't even bat an eye, as this entire plan was a government conspiracy to drive up the market price of lumbago medicine, which was being transferred in the train that he ended up boarding. After shooting up the town folks and making sure that the government's paid actor posing as a saloon owner is dead, he slowly walks off to find the dog he petted in hopes of ending the poor boy's suffering. After finding him, he whips out his sawn-off shotgun and proceeds to relieve the poor boy of his terminal case of lumbago. With the disease now contained, he heads out onto the road and into the nearby town of Tumbleweed. After a short ride into town, he heads into the local saloon and is happy that the town folks there are not infected. He gets a warm meal and heads up to play some poker with the boys. After losing a few times in a row and being absolutely humiliated for the fact that he has terminal lumbago, he ends up unaliving the entire poker table. This goes to show that you shouldn't poker fun at people with disabilities or cases of terminal illness, especially if they have guns. After leaving Tumbleweed, he takes a ride back home and arrives just in time for his deer to perfectly roast. He takes a bite, opens up a few bottles of whiskey, and ends up passing out before he manages to crawl into his bed. The end. Wow. I gotta say, that was insane. Especially as the story for this basically wrote itself, and honestly, I didn't know what I could do with Uncle, so I decided to use Beach's Hope as a starting point in his adventure, and from there, all of the things you saw just naturally unfolded without me even trying to intervene. I honestly, I don't know, I have to say that I'm absolutely blown away. I want to thank everyone that ended up watching. Please feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know down in the comments if you will want me to create a particular idea into a video. Any suggestions that you give me, I'll take into consideration for a future video. Once again, thank you to all the 275 people that ended up subscribing. It's been a blast making this type of content, and I hope to continue this in the future. Stay silly, keep edging, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.